Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is your girl Adriana DC. Today we are going to be getting into some designer fragrances. I'm going to be giving you guys my top 10 designer fragrances, as in the top best designer fragrances in my perfume collection, and the ones that are available on the market that I think are show-stopping, or should I say the most outstanding or memorable in the perfume community, you guys. Now, you guys know we have been having waves upon waves of new fragrances. However, some of these new fragrances, they can test some of the top best, designer fragrances out there on the market, okay? I personally have a majority designer perfume collection. So for me, I am very well acquainted with designer fragrances. I do appreciate niche fragrances, but for me, I don't really care if a fragrance is designer or niche. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. And so I have quite a large designer perfume collection, and I have a few fragrances that in my perfume collection, no matter how many other fragrances I buy, I purchase or try or venture into thus far, these 10 fragrances, these 10 designer fragrances are still what I would consider to be show-stopping fragrances. These are fragrances that I would most likely include in my top 10 best for life, okay? And I'm going to tell you the reasons why. So if you guys want to find out what I think are the top 10 best designer fragrances out there, then by all means keep on watching. If you guys are new here, please don't leave without hitting that subscribe button. Make sure to hit the notification bell so that way you will be notified every single time I upload. And for those of you who are my returning subscribers, thank you guys for your continuous love and support. So first things first, let's get YSL Libre the Intense out of the way, okay? And this is going to be my first top best designer fragrance on the market, you guys. I want to say to you now, it's going to be an expensive statement to say this is the best designer fragrance, but had I given you guys a top 5 designer fragrances, this would be one of the top best 5 designer fragrances. You guys already know the name because we've been raving about it. Everybody's raving about it. And I can safely say to you, the entire YSL Libre line is quite spectacular, you guys, all right? This is a perfume that when it comes to quality, price point, presentation, this is a spectacular offering from YSL, you guys. And I think if you guys are into perfume, if you love fragrances, if you like quality designer scents, and even so, this fragrance can easily be passed for a niche scent. Something about the way the lavender is done in here. So the lavender, the musk, the vanilla, the tonka bean, and the amber, the sweetness in here. So the overall blend and the scent profile of this beautiful fragrance, this can easily pass for a top tier niche fragrance in my opinion, you guys. So if you guys are going to build a collection, even if you don't want to build a perfume collection, if you want to dive into, having a very outstanding perfume collection, YSL Libre, whether the original or the Le Parfum or the Intense, needs to be a part of your fragrance wardrobe. And I guarantee you, you will not regret it. In terms of which one in particular, for me, I love all of them. I do know that some people struggle with some of them, whether the original is a little bit too sharp or a little bit too musky or a little bit too heavy on the lavender, or whether the Intense is too intense or the Le Parfum is too sweet. Whichever may have you, I am certain that there is one YSL Libre amongst the range that will definitely suit your taste. So coming in at the number 10 or number 1 spot, I would say YSL Libre Intense is definitely one of the top best designer fragrances out there. Next up, we are going to dive into Valentino's Born in Roma, the original, okay? And you guys, I remember when I started doing YouTube, okay? Once you place this fragrance bottle on your thumbnail, it was like, oh my God, I have to see it. This still is, and seems as if it will always be a spectacular offering from Valentino. This is a beautiful citrusy black currant, jasmine, bourbon vanilla, slightly woody, sweet chick, a little bit playful yet womanly and edgy smelling fragrance, okay? You cannot go wrong. Now, currently, Valentino has quite a few offerings, quite a few variations of this particular DNA. So for me, I would highly recommend the original. I would say to you, to enjoy the Intense, you have to love the original. And the Pink PP is something a little bit different, but still a variation of this one in particular. I would still say that the original Valentino Born in Roma is in fact the highlight of the entire Valentino Born in Roma range. So for me, this fragrance is still one of the best. Okay, it's still one of the best fragrances on the market. It's still talked about. It is still a scent that you can't go bored, whether just looking at a bottle or smelling the fragrance. You cannot go bored. So for me, Valentino Born in Roma, again, if you want to build your perfume collection and you're thinking, you're just maybe starting off, or trying to have a well-rounded fragrance wardrobe, Valentino Born in Roma, you guys need this one to be a part of the list. So Valentino Born in Roma is definitely today one of the best designer fragrances on the market. Quality, the price isn't too bad in my opinion, given the recent price hike when it comes to fragrances on a whole. This is still reasonably priced in my opinion. So Valentino Born in Roma, definitely one of the top tier designer fragrances. Another top tier designer fragrance and designer brand would be Tom Ford's Bitter Peach. You guys know Tom Ford has quite a very outstanding, very memorable, raved about, very well loved offerings, quite a few offerings on the market, you guys, and you cannot go wrong when it comes to Tom Ford. You cannot. Okay, I want to say, I'm going to give you, because I have two fragrances on Tom Ford I'm going to tell you guys about. Now, in this particular range, in this particular bottle, I'm not quite sure what the collection is called, okay? There are quite a few hits from the brand. I mean, Tom Ford is Tom Ford, okay? But I would urge you, if you guys are going to if you're going to have a perfume collection, one of these fragrances in this bottle is going to be a highlight for you. Whether it's the Tom Ford Bitter Peach, whether it's the Rose Prick, whether it's the Tobacco Vanille, whether it's the Soleil Blanc or the Eau de Soleil Blanc, okay? Or one of these citrusy fragrances, or even Lost Cherry. One of these fragrances in this bottle, if we are talking about top 10, okay? Just so we can make space for all the other fragrances. If you're talking top 10, one of these fragrances I would classify to be one of the best, designer offerings on the market. Or not just one of them, quite a few of them very well. But again, to make space, I would rank Bitter Peach. I would say Bitter Peach is definitely one of the best designer fragrances on the market. Now, I could easily recommend Lost Cherry, but I don't have Lost Cherry. And if I could be completely honest from you, this is my favorite from this range. If not Lost Cherry, you still have Rose Prick, but I still prefer Bitter Peach over Rose Prick. If not Rose Prick, you still have Eau de Soleil Blanc, and I still prefer Bitter Peach. And if not that one, Tobacco Vanille is still a spectacular offering, you guys. For me, when it comes to, one of the best designer fragrances, like top notch, Bitter Peach is that one, okay? This is a spicy, bitter, creamy, sandalwood, peachy, a little bit boozy smelling fragrance with essence of vanilla. It is spectacular, you guys. Oh my God, just smell this perfume. Let me tell you something. When I smelled this perfume for the very first time, I thought it was the best smelling fragrance ever, you guys, okay? Bitter Peach is a spectacular smelling perfume, and the longevity on this one is quite decent in comparison to all of the other fragrances that I mentioned. Now, I have Tobacco Oud. Tobacco Oud is okay, but it's not that crowd pleasing, okay? And then you have the Tobacco Vanille. Tobacco Vanille is every single thing and more. But I'm talking about, like, most crowd pleasing, because a lot of people don't really go well with tobacco, okay? Peaches, you can definitely feel that one out. Roses, or maybe even cherry. But for me, if you're talking some of the best and top designer fragrances, Bitter Peach definitely has to have a slot on that list, because it is most definitely one of the most spectacular offerings on the market. And next up, we have Tom Ford's Black Orchid. And I'm going to recommend the gold bottle, because you guys know we have the black one, and then we had the Black Orchid in the gold bottle. We have the Velvet Orchid, the White Patchouli. And I'm going to say to you, of the entire range, this particular range, there's also Grey Vetiver. I would highly recommend this particular scent. Now, This is a very polarizing fragrance, okay? It's not as polarizing as the Black Bottle, but it is still a very strong fragrance. It's a spicy, woody, boozy, slightly florally sweet, you know, vanilla orchid scent. Quite a lot. It's a bit earthy. There's some truffle in here, so there's some sweetness. It's powdery, it's airy. Definitely get some florals. It's spectacular. This fragrance is all about aura, all about presence, all about confidence, and so on. It's more a feel than to be like, oh my God. The scent smells beautiful, but it's more about that feeling that this scent gives off. Okay, beautiful, spectacular offering from Tom Ford, unquestionably. Okay, if you guys are going to build your collection, you have to either get your nose on one of these, or this needs to be a part of your wardrobe. One way or the next, you need to explore this Tom Ford range. This is, again, if I was to do a top 5, this would definitely be in the top 5 best designer fragrances out there, because Tom Ford fragrances are unquestionably some of the best scents out there. I would mark him down for price point. However, this particular range is definitely much more affordable than the other Tom Ford fragrances. Either way you put it, this fragrance is a spectacular smelling perfume, and it is most definitely one of the best designer fragrances there is. Next up, we have the La Nuit Tresor, okay? And I have a total of 6 fragrances from this range. I think there is there's one that's discontinued, and then there is the original. So I'm 2 short, or should I say 2 down from this particular range. What can I say to you about La Nuit Tresor? Okay, when I started doing YouTube, Demi Rollins raved and raved and raved and raved and raved about this perfume. And 3-4 years down the road, we are still raving about La Nuit Tresor. This is a very beautiful offering. Now, this fragrance was actually released in 2015. And this is a bright burst of fruity, sweet, vanilla. There's some praline, tonka bean, benzoin. You know, there is a lot going on in this perfume, but essentially this is a fruity, sweet, intoxicating, striking, attention-grabbing, compliment-getting smelling fragrance. Okay, this is a beautiful fragrance. This is a spectacular scent. And I mean, in the world of new fragrances, this perfume and quite a bit of its flankers still stand out as being top tier, as in you just can't go wrong, you guys. If you guys are to dive into designer fragrances, whether you want to start designer or niche, whatever, you know, you need to know La Nuit Tresor, because La Nuit Tresor is definitely one of the best fragrances out there, even in the world of niche fragrances. Okay, and that's something I don't try to go crazy over niche fragrances, because the price point goes up and my expectation goes up, and designer niche fragrances don't always meet your expectations, especially the really, really expensive ones. So in the world of fragrances, whether it be designer or niche fragrances, La Nuit Tresor is quite spectacular and worth getting your hands on. Not to mention the price point is very, 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 very decent. So La Nuit Tresor for me is definitely one of the best fragrances in my opinion. One of the next best designer fragrances out there is Giorgio Armani's C Intense. Okay, this is like one of the designer fragrances that, well, obviously it's a fairly new release. I think this one came out in either 2020 or 2021, but the DNA is no stranger. The DNA, again, is itself is quite popular, but C Intense has stood the test of time. There have been a few fragrances from the C line that has been discontinued, but the C Intense is still standing. This is again somewhat of a syrupy, sweet black currant, a little bit florally, woody, sweet fragrance. Okay, it's somewhat a little bit boozy in my opinion. It is grown woman smelling. It is elegant, womanly, sexy, and it projects, and it just has this beautiful modern scent profile to it. It is also quite long lasting. Overall, the aura of this fragrance is just womanly, sexy, sweet, and says confident, but not too bold, you know, that kind of way. C Intense is a spectacular offering. Now, mind you, I was one of those persons who were actually late to discovering the C Intense, or actually getting into C Intense. But let me tell you something, okay? This is the most beautiful scent ever. And I'm talking in the world of C fragrances, because we had quite a lot. We had C Fiori, I think that one is discontinued. C Fiori, you had C Passione, and you have a few flankers of the C Passione. But the C Intense, if you guys are going to dive into any of the C fragrances, you cannot go wrong with the C Intense, you guys. And this is a fragrance I would say is definitely a must-have. This is a must-have designer fragrance. There are a few designer perfumes, but there are quite a lot of designer perfumes, and not all of them leave a lasting impression. Not all of them are memorable. This is one of them, you guys. And I think this is one of the most beautiful. The C Intense is definitely one of the most memorable, spectacular fragrances on the perfume market, in my opinion. So this is Giorgio Armani's C Intense. And next up, we have Black Opium. And I could easily come on here, sir, and say to you, Black Opium is one of the best designer fragrances. And I'm sure you guys will ask me which one, right? Black Opium, the DNA, is definitely one of the best, on the market, okay? The Black Opium DNA is quite spectacular. It's, obviously it's been raved about, and it's raved about for good reason, okay? But this brand has had 50 million flankers, okay? So which ones do you need? Obviously the OG is always good to get your hands on. The original is always good to get your hands on. Not for every brand, but in this case, the OG, you need to experience it. You need to smell it. And I know it's controversial because I was one of those persons that actually stayed away from Black Opium, okay? Controversial fragrance, okay? But it's a beautiful, cozy, warm, sweet coffee fragrance, in my opinion. Okay, coffee vanilla fragrance, sweet coffee vanilla scent. It smells really beautiful, you guys, okay? What smells better is the Le Parfum, okay? So while I would say to you, the original is definitely worth getting your hands on, and still I would consider it to be one of the best. They've managed to outshine the original with the Le Parfum, you guys. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, of the designer fragrances that's out there, you have to know Black Opium. You have to have smelt it. You have to, even if you add a tiny bottle or you try it or whatever, in terms of the world of designer fragrances, Black Opium is definitely one of the top best out there, in my opinion. So this is YSL's Black Opium. Next up, we have Elie Saab's Girl of Now, okay? Now, I had, I think, two of these fragrances. The Girl of Now Forever, I sold it, not because I didn't like it, but again, and I normally go home for the summertime and I sell my fragrances, and I haven't managed to buy it back, but it is still a banger in my eyes. Girl of Now, Elie Saab. This beautiful, intoxicating, ice cream, sweet, pistachio smelling tonka bean perfume is definitely still one of the best. Again, this is one of those fragrances, definitely a spectacular scent profile still, you guys. Even after not wearing, I haven't worn this fragrance in a long time, but even after not smelling it for a long time, revisiting this perfume is an absolute joy to smell, you guys. So Elie Saab Girl of Now, definitely one of the most raved about fragrances on Fragcom once upon a time. It's still, it's mentioned here or there, but this is still one of the best designer fragrances, best pistachio scents, long lasting. And let's not talk about the price point. This is definitely on more of the affordable side, and it is a beautiful fragrance. It's long lasting, the projection, and it is a compliment getter, you guys. All of them, okay? All of them are quite spectacular. And the quality on these fragrances, again, even your best designer fragrance, your best, most recent designer fragrances, competing against, Elie Saab Girl of Now, Elie Saab would still give them, give them a good run for the money. I'm gonna say that, you guys. The DNA, the scent profile, and even the bottle is quite pretty, you guys. Elie Saab Girl of Now, for me, is definitely one of the best designer fragrances out there. Next up, we have Oud Bouquet by Lancome. And I probably should have given this like a #1 spot, but I didn't rank these designer fragrances. But bet your life, Oud Bouquet by Lancome, okay? If you're thinking about diving into oud, if you want to make a very big impression, if you are talking about like a very striking, exceptionally beautiful fragrance, it's gonna be Oud Bouquet. Obviously, this is a designer fragrance with a niche price tag. So that's the only quirk when it comes to this one. This will be the most expensive designer fragrance out of all of the fragrances that I've listed to you guys tonight. However, when it comes to quality, longevity, projection, the DNA, Oud Bouquet is one of the best fragrances out there, okay? Like, I'm talking all across the board. Oud Bouquet is one of the most spectacular scents that I have ever smelled, you guys, okay? So for me, If you care about oud, yeah, you would. If you care about oud, or if you guys want to dive into oud, you need to try this. And if not, even Shagaf Oud, which is an inspired version, somewhat of an inspired version of Oud Bouquet, you need to have experienced that fragrance. You need to have experienced this scent. Even if you don't have it in your collection, get your nose on it, and I guarantee you, you will be blown away. This is a very, I want to say, quality perfume, okay? Very high quality scent that forever will be one of my top best fragrances. Next up is a fragrance that I don't have in my perfume collection at this point, but I recently had it, but I actually sold it on my summer escapades as per usual. But for me, this will forever be one of the most vibrant, most exciting summer fragrances, and I'm talking about Angel Nova by Mugler, you guys. This is a bright, rich, juicy, raspberry rich, sweet vanilla, a little bit woody smelling fragrance, okay? This is one of the best fruity fragrances out there, okay? As a YouTuber, obviously I had the fragrance in my collection. I sold it on my summer vacation. I didn't repurchase it, not because I don't want it, it's because, you know, the releases are coming out, you know, ever so often, and so I do like to talk about other fragrances on my channel. But when it comes to Angel Nova, you guys, Angel Nova is a spectacular smelling perfume. I'm talking price point, presentation, bottle, longevity, scent profile. You cannot go wrong when it comes to Angel Nova. This for me is these for me are definitely one of the top 10 bestest designer fragrance. However, I want to give you guys one more honorable mention, and I have chosen to leave this particular scent as an honorable mention because it's discontinued. And the fragrance I'm talking about is Angel Muse by Mugler. It wasn't so long ago when every single body and their mama, their aunties were raving about this fragrance, you guys. This is a beautiful scent. Obviously, it's a powdery, you know, a little bit medicinal, hazelnutty, sweet smelling perfume, okay? Definitely a little bit medicinal, powdery, definitely has that, you know, chocolatey essence. Strong, big boy, long lasting, very heavy. I think there's some patchouli in here as well. Very strong fragrance that for some people it was a bit of a miss, but I think for the majority this was an absolute love, you guys. Angel Muse, even to today, is still one of the best designer fragrances. It's just discontinued, unfortunately, okay? But I had to include it because I do still think the DNA of this perfume is still one of the most spectacular out there in the world of designer fragrances. And they don't make fragrances like they do and like they used to. So most fragrances these days are much more on the crowd pleasing side, not that unique, but still memorable, and that's still okay. But this fragrance was still a very well loved scent by the masses, and so I wanted to include this fragrance in this top 10 designer list. And there you have it, you guys. There are quite a lot of beautiful designer fragrances out there, but I want to give you guys the top tier, like the best in my opinion. Again, everybody isn't into niche fragrances, and I noticed that it has been a new wave of, like, you know, a niche love, and that's because the price of designer fragrances are so crazy that you might as well buy, you know, the niche fragrances. And there are a lot of like new niche brands with much more reasonable prices, and so people are really just switching to, you know, niche fragrances. However, in the world of perfumery, in the art of perfumery, these top 10 designer fragrances are some of the best for me. The best designer fragrances, as in, like, if I was to start a YouTube channel right now, I would still grab these fragrances in my perfume collection, you guys. And so there you have it. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If in fact you did, please give me a very big thumbs up. If you guys are new, please don't leave without hitting that subscribe button. Show you guys some love, help to grow the channel, and of course hit the notification bell so that way you will be notified every single time I upload. And to those of you who are my returning subscribers, thank you guys for your continuous love and support. Until next time, see you guys in my very next video. Bye.